Y'all already know who this is. It is Trehunna from Physique Set. As you see, I got a change of scenery. Houston got hit with a crazy hurricane, and now my power's out. But it's all good. I'm still gonna give y'all some information. So, a lot of people don't understand why a lot of these fitness gurus and a lot of programs say one thing for you to rapidly lose weight. Cut out carbs. Period, right? But because they don't give you any insight and they don't explain to you why, you're just thinking,
oh man, well, I'm never gonna lose weight because I gotta have my bread.
And all that. All right. So today, what we're going to talk about is glycogen. What is glycogen? And why does this come into play when you're trying to lose weight? Especially if you're somebody who's not as active.
Hey guys, my name's Michelle, Nita, Sarah, Peyton, Talia, Jazz, Marquita.
I'm a physique.
Product. Period. We love to see.
What is glycogen? Glycogen is the stored form of carbohydrates. A lot of people don't understand when it comes to carbs, a human body is looking for two things when you actually start to eat anything. It's looking for amino acids, which usually comes from protein, and it's also looking for fatty acids, which comes from fat. You know, monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fat, saturated fat, etc. Notice how I didn't say anything about glucose. Notice how I didn't say anything about carbohydrates. Why? Because the human body can actually convert its own carbohydrates or its own sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis, and it's pulling it from what? Fat. Simple. The human body does not need as much carbs as you think. And just to give you an idea of how much sugar or carbs the body uses at a time, if you're in the fastest state, let's say you went 24 hours without eating nothing, you're just drinking nothing but water, your body's only circulating 1 teaspoon of carbs or sugar. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon is 1/3 of a tablespoon. So just to give you some context, if we have some rice, let's say you only get 1 cup of rice from your favorite restaurant, right? That is about 10 teaspoons of sugar. Why? Carbs and sugar breaks down to the same thing in the human body. It's going to break down to glucose. So 1 cup of rice is 10 teaspoons of sugar. Yet one thing you're not taking into consideration, when you go to that Jamaican restaurant, they're giving you a bed of rice. It's going to be easily 3 cups. When you go to your favorite Mexican restaurant, you're also going to get 2 cups of rice, you know? So the carbs is not the issue. It is the fact that because we grew up in an environment where we think this is normal, over consuming carbs, when somebody's telling us to, hey,
We need you to revert back or pull back a little bit, we're thinking they're crazy.
because we've been doing this our entire life. Yet that's why the average American, literally 78% of Americans, are dealing with some form of metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance. They're dealing with prediabetes, hypertension, full-blown diabetes, cardiovascular disease, high BMI, high waist to hip circumference, whatever you want to call it. That's what they're dealing with. Because a lot of people is over-consuming carbs. Now keep in mind, carbs is not created equal. When your favorite fitness influencer or when your favorite program is telling you to cut out carbs, they're not talking about Brussels sprouts, which is a carb, asparagus, which is a carb, broccoli is a carb, apples is a carb. A lot of people didn't even know those are carbs. So we're not talking about all carbs. We're talking about the carbs that you like. We're talking about the bread, the Doritos, the rice, the potatoes, the honey buns, the ho-hos, the Twinkies, the Kit Kats, the ice cream. Those carbs. Why? Because they are processed and they also added sugar to it on average. When you are consuming these type of carbs, right? Now your glycogen stores are going to get so full on average, especially if you're somebody who is not as active, to the point that your body is going to start taking these extra carbs and converting it to fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. All right. So here's how I want you to think about your body. Once again, your body don't need any carbs. It don't. Let's say you have a bucket, right? I have a bucket where my body's allowed to have this amount of carbs, and somebody else may have a bucket where they're allowed to have more carbs than me. What causes your bucket to get bigger is how much muscle mass you have, and B, your genetics. Some people are genetically predisposed to have diabetes, hypertension, etc. because they're family. Just like me. Majority of my family members, just growing up, I seen they had prediabetes and they had diabetes complications. That means I gotta be a lot more attentive to how much carbs I'm having compared to somebody else. My bucket is only able to consume 150 carbs, right? What's gonna happen is once my bucket fills to the brim and I'm still eating, Let's say I just finished off the tortilla chips at the Mexican restaurant, right? Now they're coming out with the tortillas with my fajitas. Now I gave my body a little bit more that it can handle. Now this bucket is spilling over. And because it's spilling over, my body doesn't like to waste energy. Why? Because back in the day, if we didn't eat enough, people used to die due to starvation. Nowadays, people are dying, especially in America, due to overeating. So there used to be a sea of scarcity back in the day. Now there's a plague of prosperity because everybody's overeating to the point where now we're dealing with preventable lifestyle diseases. Diseases that didn't have to happen to you if you just would have dropped the fork. But because it is normalized for us, because we've been eating like this all our entire life, we're thinking somebody's crazy when they're telling us, hey,
we need to cut out those potatoes and those rice.
And you're like, oh,
well, I'm Jamaican. We have rice and everything.
Okay, totally fine. It's not the rice. It's how much rice you had, but then also you had that ginger beer, and also you had that beef patty, and oh, where's the vegetables? You had a little tablespoon of vegetables? That is the problem. We are over consuming the starches and the processed foods, and because people don't know how to read the label, you're looking at calories. You're thinking all calories are created equal when it's not. 120 calories coming from a chicken breast is not gonna react in your body the same as 120 calories coming from them golden Oreos. But because you was taught a calorie is a calorie, you're thinking,
okay, well, do I want this chicken breast or do I want these Oreos?
We all know what the answer is. We're all gonna choose them Oreos. But there is going to be a price on the back end. What I want you to take out of this video is glycogen is the store form of carbohydrates, right? And some people can have more glycogen stores than others depending on how active you are. And if you're somebody who loves those carbs, you're a breadhead just like me. One thing I want you to do is tell yourself, okay, the days I choose to have a starch, a bean, a corn, a rice, a potato, especially if I'm somebody who's not as active, and you gotta be real with yourself. If you're not moving your body for 2 to 3 hours out the day, I'm not talking about, I walked around Walmart. I'm talking about you went to the gym and you did cardio and you lifted weights, or you did Zumba, or you're a Pilates mommy. You are moving your body. You are intentionally moving your body with the purpose of seeing the scale drop or to change your physique. You can have more carbs. Simple. But also, I'm not gonna say do it willy-nilly. Start measuring out your food. So what I like to teach my clients, which is what I actually practice, Sunday through Thursday, I'm not eating any crazy carbs. I'm not eating no rice. And when I'm saying rice, I'm not saying I cannot have it. I am just not actively putting that on my plate on purpose. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I'm eating more asparagus. I'm eating more bok choy. I'm eating more spinach. I'm eating more broccoli. Because on Saturday and Sunday, I'm living my best life. So if I want some fries, guess what? I'm having some fries. If I want some rice, guess what? I have some rice. If I want that garlic naan from my favorite Mediterranean spot, guess what? I'm having that garlic naan. Now, it still doesn't make sense for me to drink my calories, because if I do not drink my calories, that means I can eat more. But what a lot of people do is when they're having that rice and they're having that tortillas and they're having that queso and chips, they're having a margarita or they're having a crazy drink. And that drink got about 80 grams of carbs. By the way, that's 20 teaspoons of sugar. I just told you your body only needs 1 teaspoon at a time, which means what? You're giving your body a abundance of sugar, and that's what causes the issue. It's not the sugar itself. We are over consuming sugar, and because we're not reading the label, we don't even know it. We're ignorant to it. But ignorance is bliss until you're not ignorant anymore. If you're really trying to actively lose weight, but you're not trying to change your whole entire lifestyle up just yet, I just want you to read that label. Now you probably need some key pointers. You want that carb number closer to 10 than closer to 20. So what does that mean? If it's under 10, go at it. Go crazy. All right. But if it's 16, tell yourself, hey, I can find a better version of this if I really look. But 2, you want that added sugar number as close to 0 as possible. Because what does that mean? That means,
hey, we finished this formula and we asked ourselves, what can we do to make this thing sell even more?
I know. We can go ahead and add more sugar to it. And they're not using great sugar. They're using refined sugar. They're using table sugar, which is a sucrose molecule. That's not the one that you really want. Okay? You want sugar that's going to come with some fiber in it, such as sugar from fruit. Fruit is not the issue, as you can see, but you having fruit snacks. Now we processed it. We avoided it from the fiber. That is the issue. Have more of the things at its natural state, and kind of technically you don't got nothing to worry about. You having a potato is totally different from you having french fries, even though they're coming from the exact same source. Does that make sense? You having dried apricots totally different from you having real apricots. Why? Because the apricots really got fiber in it. The dried apricots, that's basically candy, and it tastes like candy, and they added sugar to it. That's why it tastes like that. So I want you to pay attention to that carb number. Okay, we're not demonizing carbs. You just need to understand carbs because you gotta understand the climate that we're in, because they're adding these things to the food so you can be a customer with the hospital. Yes, I said customer. You're not a patient. You are a customer. All right. So hopefully y'all learned something today. That's what glycogen is. That's your reset tip of the day. That's gonna help you stay snatched all the time. Know that sometime. Please watch out for your sugar, because sugar is the main thing that's causing a lot of these issues, especially in the minority communities. Cool? Talk to you soon.